Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Level 2 recording for September 19th, and this is the second semester of 2018, and this coincides. We are realigning again with Lesson 14 from the recorded lessons. And in the advanced Level 2 stuff, this lesson is all about, call it energetic hygiene and longevity. And I recorded that in response to a student at the time that wanted to know what are some practical approaches to being able to self-cultivate, heal the body, do longevity, and what I call basically energetic hygiene. And this relates to the level 1 material that we were just talking about, because I was talking about ascension, which is that realignment. This is a timeline going from a timeline that ends in death to a timeline that is eternal life. The least likely thing that can happen, you don't die, you actually keep on living. There are actual practical things that we can do in terms of cultivating ourselves into alignment with that perfected version of self, our highest version of self. So I'll get into those. What are the actual things we can do? Let me just drink a little bit more. This is some of the things we can do, because I'm drinking my wonderful raw cannabis juice. Okay, but before I do that, let me go back to this question from Salu. From level 1, she says, Aurora, just rephrasing my previous question. What about the humans on this planet who don't have access to the sun? Oh, okay, good. Can they just connect their inner singularity and use life force energy to fuel themselves from that instead? The answer is yes. Although it's not ideal, like it's always better if you can to get direct access to, I'm pointing out my window over there, to actual sunlight. Let's say it's a cloudy day. Oh no, I can't ascend, it's a cloudy day. No, that's not true, you can. So I lived in Humboldt, which is Northern California, for many years, and it's famously cloudy up there. But it was definitely less cloudy than when I lived back east in the wintertime, but still. There would be like brief windows when it would be like, oh my God, it's sunny, I'm gonna run outside and do my sun gazing. I had to learn how to connect with my inner eye beyond the clouds, beyond the cloudy layer that was blocking out between me and the beautiful sun and the stars. I had to figure out some way to transcend that. It was kind of like, I didn't want to have to be in that level of difficulty, but because I was there, I had to learn how to innovate. So sometimes I would envision myself flying above the clouds and having a clear, line of sight to the actual sun. And what I ended up doing very pragmatically was, where's my little, hold on a second, let me go and get my little crystal over here. Hold on 1 second. I apologize for walking off camera. Here we go. There's my little dog. She's like, we got this little stuffed animal at the thrift store, and she loves to play with it and bite its face. So she's playing with this little biting its face. This is a Herkimer diamond. It's made out of quartz, so it is safe to place in your mouth. Some crystals you're not supposed to put in your mouth because they have different things that can, dissolve and go in your bloodstream, so they're not healthy. But this is inert. So we practice safe crystal eating in my world. And what I would do up in Humboldt is have this out in the sun on a sunny day, like storing up my food in the fridge. And then when it was time for me to do my sun gazing, or any flying rainbow lasagna, anything that would require energy, what I would do is literally put my crystal in my mouth and literally hold that in between my tongue and my roof of my mouth, so that I could feel like I was getting that energy inside of me. So yeah, there are alternative or oblique ways that you can get the energy that you need for ascension. But it's a really good question, Salu, because this is like getting enough gas in your car to be able to make that leap. I talked about the leap across the synaptic gap. In other lessons, I talked about the leap of the electron from one shell of excitation to the next level of excitation. You got to get enough energy to make that leap. And the energy is light. It is light. It's consciousness. It's intelligence. It's life force. And I also wanted to say that life force is a force. Like freedom is a force, like gravity or electromagnetism. And so is life force. Like being alive. Being alive is like the way that there are particles and forces in the description of the world known as science. It's a force. So basically what we have are two, opposing forces. The force of life, that is organization and metabolism and continued consciousness, and the force that is against life, that is death, the death cult stuff, all that stuff that tries to take you away from your core essence, who you really are, make you a peripheral self and send you into the membrane of death. It's a dualistic dichotomy, but it's the basic of what we're experiencing here. We're basically experiencing a struggle. That's it, a dualistic struggle between this inevitability known as life, force field, and the things that try to exert dominance or supremacy over that life force and say, I am more powerful than life, I will create death. And we are here to break that spell literally by embodiment. If we say, oh, I transcend death. Oh, look, I transcend death. It means you write a new truth. You write a new reality. So that is the experience that we're having as a planet, as individuals, as a human culture. We're rewriting the narrative where we transcend death, where we do not die, or where we redefine what the experience of death is into continued consciousness. So, but I don't want anyone to think that we're like on the membrane of death or that we're in hell or anything like that. What we're in, we're related to level 1 stuff. We're in an indeterminate state. I call that a state of grace. Just like a quantum indeterminate state, like you're in Schrodinger's box, you're not in hell. But there is very real suffering here, which is why I understand that people liken it to hell or think that they're in hell, but I don't want anyone to think that, because the truth is we can transcend these levels of difficulty, and that is what we are supposed to be doing. So I hope so can they just connect to their inner singularity? Yes. If you need to, yes. Because it's just like having a baby. I have not given physical birth, but if you are pregnant and you're going to have contractions and give physical birth, you could do that in the nicest, coolest, whatever, jacuzzi with aromatherapy, or you can do it like some lady had a baby on a front lawn and the cop helped to, policeman helped to deliver before the ambulance got there. You can't have a baby on a front lawn. There's no equipment, there's no bed, there's no nothing. You just have the baby. If you're going to ascend, it's like having a baby. You're the baby. You are the mother, you're the parent, and you're the baby. And it will happen inevitably, regardless of whether you have anything fancy or special to make it happen. But there are things that we can do that help to make it happen. So let me get to, Pedro says, is the light that our pineal gland gets from the sun like the neutrinos that pass through matter? It's not a direct correlation. It's not like a direct analogy, but it's a good poetic analogy. Because yes, you're understanding neutrinos are like these super high energy particles that can pass through lead. They pass through everything. They pass through everything because they're literally like moving at a different frequency. So I would say it's a similar type of idea, but it's like our attention, that tendril of attention that we use to eat the sun, it can go anywhere. I don't want you to think that it only is like an elephant's trunk or that it has to grow out from your forehead in order to touch something that you can see. It can go anywhere. You can eat sunlight that existed 10,000 years ago. You can send your tendril of attention to any time, any place. So you can definitely send your tendril of attention to the sun here on a cloudy day, or send it to the sun here at night. Can you sun gaze at night? The answer is yes. Yes, you can sun gaze at night. Because the sun is on the other side of the planet. You cannot see it with your eyes, but you know that it exists. So you can connect with these levels of consciousness indirectly. And that's, I think, part of our muscle building training regimen at being, why are we here? Why are we having these experiences? Sometimes we have to learn to transcend what would be considered objective materialist literalism. You don't only get to connect with what you can see with your physical eyes. You can connect with things that you cannot perceive physically, but you know they're there, like the sun at night, or a far distant sun, or a far distant star. Susanna says, so I've been a bad student of yours, never say that, for a few years, but I'm starting to see we are getting the same info, but my distractions and lack of self-belief and false ego keep me from comprehending everything. Please don't be too hard on yourself, I understand. She says, like big galactic words, but when I walked outside so mad one day and said, I'm done, beam me up to the sun engulfed me, raising me up, and I got so much beautiful unconditional love, and that I could do whatever my dreams were made up of. That is beautiful. I'm happy to hear that. What is that called? Did I sun gaze and had no idea, or could experience that? Could I do it again, or is it a one-time deal? I think you can do it again. It sounds very much like sun gazing, and it sounds like you got like so angry and frustrated at being at a slanty angle that you're like, I just want to get to a better timeline already. Like you like just willpowered your way onto it. So you're very powerful that you do that. I feel perturbed. I'm upset when I hear you say things that you think you're a bad student. You're not a bad student. It's like, I'm the type of piano teacher where it's like, hey, when you want to practice, practice. If you're not feeling it, don't do it. I'm not like going to hit you and make you try to do that. Do it at your own pace. All of this is self-development at your own pace. So yeah, you should absolutely encourage yourself that you even did that spontaneously. And then yes, how to recreate it. Because I have had similar experiences where I'm just like, that's it. Like, that's it. I can't take it anymore. And I'm just going to do this thing. And then you do that and you literally pop into another dimension. Because I think it's just like when a woman is having a baby, they have that particular moment where they're just like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I have to do this. I'm doing this now. Like the woman who gave birth on the front lawn, she did that with the cop. She's like, I'm not waiting for the ambulance. I'm doing this now. Like sometimes it's like that. And I think it's very important for each one of us, like get tough with the cosmos, because being down here is really, there's profound suffering and it's not easy and it's not cool. And it's not like, oh, please take longer, go slower. You're not making my life easier by going slower. So yeah, at a certain point, we should all shake our fist at the sky and say, this needs to happen now. And I mean, what you describe, waves of light and love coming into you from the sun absolutely loves us. Sun, the stars, like real God is very present and absolutely loves us. And it's just been that question of like not being able to hear effectively because we are genetically modified and we're like, yo, like I'm telling you, like I need some help down here, and it's not even getting through. So I think sometimes it takes that screaming intensity for the sun to be able to be like, what? I hear someone is screaming down there. Somebody's screaming. That is not okay. Because as soon that's what I feel. It's like, because as soon as the sun becomes aware, then it's like that feeling of tons of rectification. Here is light. Here's energy. Here's food. Here's love. Let's fix this up. And just it's profoundly gratifying, even just knowing that the sun listens and the sun cares. It's not some cold, distant, stupid thing in the sky. It is a very real, very caring, intimately connected thing that is absolutely here to help us in our difficulties. And like I said in the earlier thing about ascension, like if you're doing the work of ascension, you don't have to think like, am I good? Am I good enough? Am I going to be left behind? Am I doing it fast enough? Like there's all of this self-deprecation and feelings of unworthiness here, where I want everyone to understand that even if you make a little tiny effort, the sun is like, they're doing it, and will send you everything in terms of energy and encouragement that you need, food, inner food, to be able to do this. So yeah, everyone is worthy, and even small efforts really, really matter. And it's not the only time that has to happen for you. I'm just scrolling back, but to make sure, yes, Susanna, it's not the only time that has to happen for you. It's kind of like, if the first time you do something, it's like breaking through barriers, it's punching through membranes. It's very, very hard. But then you can do it again other times. And like it reminds that some of the first time I did flying rainbow lasagna was very spontaneous and very under duress. And then later on, I learned how to do it more as a regular practice. So now I don't have to be totally like frustrated at the world in order to do my flying rainbow lasagna. Some days it's a lot easier than others. Some days the music that I put on is mellow and peaceful, and it's just like, oh, like sailing beautifully. And some days it's like agitation and perturbations, and I need like strong music, and I need, whatever, Rage Against the Machine, because some days are like that. But so just understand it can happen again. Keep on cultivating what you did spontaneously. It doesn't always have to be under such great duress, but I understand that sometimes it's like, sometimes you are almost at the membrane of death. You might not have known, or you might have known on a soul level, like something needs to change now, because you're almost, it's not a viable future otherwise. And I'm feeling that personally, and I'm seeing that as a culture and social planetary structure. And it's like, there's no more waiting. That's why I joke about like being so sarcastic, like, oh, take longer. Like, cosmic beings up there, take longer. Like it doesn't get better the longer it takes. It actually is very, very difficult, and this should be done as quickly as possible. So yeah, we've all been experiencing enough suffering. It needs to happen already. Pedro says, that's why we can sun gaze at night or in dark places. You totally get it. You totally get it. And Ben is agreeing with what Susanna said. Okay, very good. Yes, you're so welcome. And thank you, Susanna, for sharing what you said. So let me just drink a little bit more, and then we'll get into how to help ascension. So the recorded lesson is all about energetic hygiene and longevity. So way back in Atlantis, I talked about this in level 1. Everybody ascended, nobody died, ate food that was directly from the sun, but that does not mean that you didn't have to have anything. It's not like you just had nothing. This is what I'm trying to say. In this time and place, people are like, oh, I'm going to eschew regular society, going to get away from technology, I'm just going to eat nothing but pure sunlight. And some people do what is called being a breatharian, which is kind of like breathing in chi and prana, because I taught my practice of breathing in the sun, like I breathe it in. So for them, I don't know if it is about the visual of light, but it is about breathing in that life force energy. All this in order to say that way back in Atlantis, when we didn't eat physical food, it's not like we just had nothing. You didn't have just nothing. We actually had extensive infrastructure. That's the word I'm looking for. So just like in this, informal time and place, I have my little crystal that I use, that I store up energy with. And now we have sunlight every day here where I live. But I used to use this quite a lot. In ancient Atlantis, like here we got a refrigerator. I got a 6-foot tall metal object that I store my food in so I can have my blueberries in the morning. And in Atlantis, what we'd have is a 6-foot tall giant crystal. And I save my giant crystal. I used to store my sunlight food. I store it in there for when it's nighttime or when I need more than what I have available from the sun and from the sky. And our environment also fed us. So this is just like if you've ever been in a highly cultivated garden, like a Zen garden, where every stone is perfectly placed and all of the sand is perfectly arranged, and then there's one little, tiny little cactus or whatever. Everything is intentional. Everything's an art form. Everything is placed there very intentionally. And it is done so in order to not just please your eyes, but literally to create a harmonically resonant environment. So I do this kind of like in my own world, surrounding myself with these patterns. You can see I've got some of my paintings on the walls over here, and I've got paintings on the walls over there. And I put as many of these patterns around myself in my visual field as I can, because I find that they feed me on an internal level, like on a level of consciousness. So in the ancient time, before the invention of death, we ate sunlight. We also were fed by our environment. So we didn't necessarily like, oh, I'm going to pick up a plant and eat it with my mouth parts. That's not what happened. But a plant that is growing and that is very beautiful feeds us with its beauty. It's something that is almost unimaginable in this time and place, which is a very barbarian and very utilitarian kind of approach. So that's why it is so difficult for people here to go from being like a hybrid, eating food but also light or breatharian at the same time, to go total transformation to just pure light or pure breatharian. It would be very hard to do that in a city, because in a city you are literally surrounded by energy fields that are antithetical to life. So we can say life is a force. I call it all the time life force energy. It's literally a force like gravity or electromagnetism. And there are certain things that cultivate life. This is the idea of feng shui. It's like vestigial traces that were kept alive in various different cultures, puzzle pieces from the time of the fall of consciousness. So in the Far East, they know like, hey, your environment can actually make you feel healthier and stronger and have greater well-being, or the opposite. Urban environments make you feel the opposite. And I felt it. I just went on a little visit to a friend that lives down near the LA area. I live about an hour and a half or so outside of LA, and I'm in like a little mountain zone. Like it's a totally different feeling. It's a different bubble of energy. But going to LA, and I didn't drive there either. I took the train because I didn't want to have to deal with all the stress of the traffic and everything. Even on the train, it feels different. When I went down there, it's like, oh, my lasagna dance didn't quite feel as strong and as vibrant. All the things that are based on energy and consciousness didn't quite feel as strong and vibrant, because you're surrounded by all of these, I'm going to make ugly music, so cover your ears, horrible, 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 disarranged, non-harmonic waves. And so some of them are electromagnetic, like, electricity and cell phone towers and Wi-Fi. Some of it is that. But it's also what we see with our eyes. The buildings are not built perfectly. They are not built to be aesthetically arranged so that when you look at them, it's like, looking at a pattern like this, like, oh, my eyes feel happy and comfortable looking at that pattern. Like I don't have television. So at the end of my day, like I set up a comfortable chair in front of some of my paintings and I stare at my paintings and I'm like, I'm going to just watch the paintings for tonight. Like I find that to be very energizing, like, or, relaxing, fulfilling. It's like nourishing to me because they're patterns that make me feel happy, calm, and peaceful. And in cities and most urban environments, what we look at in our visual field does not make us feel happy, calm, and peaceful. It's like, you know, there's a bunch of discarded tires over there. There's like a stray dog over there. There's, you know, crumbling highway overpasses over there. Nothing looks symmetrical, peaceful, well organized, harmonically arranged. That's the literal antithesis of what life was like in the time before the fall of consciousness, where communities were intentionally created and designed to cultivate life force energy. So we'd have to, in order to do this effectively on a massive scale, completely restructure what we have in terms of our society right now. So there's some teachers right now that actually do good work on this. Dan Winter, I don't endorse all of his work, but he does some good work in terms of raising consciousness on city planning, like how we literally create our cities, that if they're not created according to these, you could call them like sacred geometry, but whatever, you know, like these beautiful divine harmonic patterns. If you don't create your cities according to those patterns, then the people that live in the cities have more disease, more decrepitude, and they have more difficulty doing out-of-body experiences or having what Winters describes as a positive death. And so that's the whole thing. Like, it is harder to control and cultivate your own consciousness when you're in an out-of-control environment. So what's the response? How do you do? What do you do? What do you do in this barbarian world? So what I do is create a bubble of peace and sanity in the place where I live. So I've got my studio here and I make these paintings, or, you know, you can get tapestries or drapes or whatever, like fill your visual field with beauty and things that you actually want to look at. And then okay, so now we're getting onto the actual topic of today, energetic hygiene. So I rent this place that I live in. And so, you know, it's like I can't permanently change major aspects of it. You don't have to. Here's what I did when I moved into this place. I took organite that a lovely friend made for me, organize a type of like human created crystal, or you can take whatever crystals you use or that speak to you, and I placed them in a perimeter around my property. And then I made a Merkaba around this property that says, hey, this is where I live and this is my energy field. And then I began to cultivate my energy field. So how do you cultivate an energy field? You sit in your energy field and you emit it over time. And it's like making a time crystal. Like, you do it one day and that's one layer. It's just like making an oil painting. When you do a traditional oil painting, you've got like the painting, you do many, many glazes, thin layers, let it dry, thin layer, let it dry, thin layer, let it dry, and that's how you get these luminous effects. That is exactly the same with creating a beneficial energy field. So it helps to have things that are structured correctly. And also you can do things with crystals and other things like that to help hold the energy there. This is something that science totally does not recognize, but I'm also not just like giving you new age BS, because having an energy field is a very real thing. So it is not recognized that much socially here, the value of doing it. In other times and places, people lived on their ancestral lands. They lived in their house that their grandparents and their parents and many other generations had lived in. There was an energy field that was pre-existing that they were born into. We don't have that luxury or that opportunity here in this time and place. What we have is a very unhealthy nomadic society, or like transient society. Like, you're born here, but then you move here, then you move here, you move here. You live in a variety of different houses or apartments. And in adulthood, like, I've moved many times. I've lived in many different dwellings, apartments, houses, shared houses. And so what I've had, it would be wonderful to be able to be like, this is the place where you live and you're going to be there for 50 years. Like, you get to, and making an energy field is like a plant making roots. It doesn't happen overnight. So the longer that you have a plant that's established someplace, the more comfortable it becomes, the more it is able to send out its roots and create its infrastructure. And it also is able to respond because it understands, here's where the sun rises every day, and here's where the sun sets every day, and here are the weather patterns, and here's what you can kind of expect. So being a part of this barbarian culture that is kind of technological and nomadic, it's been difficult for me to be able to understand, like, hey, what are the weather patterns like? What is the sun like? What is this and that like? Every time we move, we have to kind of re-understand that and reestablish that from a new perspective. So creating a beneficial energy field is a big part of it, and not moving around is part of creating a beneficial energy field. So when I move to a new place, I put down my crystals, and then I begin sitting. I sit in meditation, and I also just being there and just sitting there. These are all what you're literally, when you emit an energy field, it's like, I'm emitting music, I'm emitting music, I'm emitting music. So there are different things you can do. I literally sing in order to create my energy field. I play music, whatever instrument you play, you can play it. I do use sage. Putting aromas in the air is another good way of creating a beneficial energy field. So before I moved into this place, saged my place, removed all the energetic traces of previous inhabitants. And then I do that on a regular basis. And I also have essential oils and a diffuser that I put on for a little while, making a good smell in your place. It kind of defines the boundaries. It's like your place. Oh, and cannabis. I vaporize cannabis. I think that makes a lovely smell that is part of creating an energy field around our space. So all this is just like, it's not like you just stop eating food. Like if you just stopped eating food without replacing it with the things that are supposed to replace food, then it's just a different type of starvation. So learning to go beyond the eating of physical food requires changes in infrastructure and changes in lifestyle. So the creating a beneficial energy field also means like you don't drive all around all the time. Every time you leave your energy field, it's kind of like, imagine you're making a cloud. What's that Charlie Brown character that's got the dust cloud around him because he's dirty all the time? It's not a dirty energy field, but it's kind of a good visualization. So you're making this cloud around you all the time. And what disrupts it? If you have to leave your energy field, if you have to go out all the time, go to different places that society pays you to go, like your work or your school, or having other people tromping through your energy field all the time. So I had one studio where it had like access to a bathroom on one. The people had to come walk through my studio in order to use the bathroom. Some of the housemates had to come through. So I'd be like creating this wonderful, beautiful energy field. I got my music going, I got my essential oils going. And then like someone else has to walk through on their way to the bathroom. It's very disruptive because it's like you're creating your own private world or your own world where you create your music and your frequency and then someone else constantly walking through. How big is your energy field? Your energy field is big. My energy field is big. It's at least as big as when you stretch your arms apart like this. That's like your personal energy field. But my energy field, it's the size of my studio. It's the size of my house. It's your personal space. So yeah, if you have other people constantly walking through, you're like, hey, I'm trying to create a beneficial energy field here, and you keep stinking up the joint with your emissions, like, unless it's an ascended master walking through your energy field, then it's like, oh, like that would be adding to it, making it nicer. But mostly it's like, whatever, you've got the unconscious zombified dregs of humanity. And that's not going to help you to get to be a better musician if you have worse musicians walking through your energy field. So, yes. So, I mean, and that's hard because I'm not telling you like you shouldn't leave your house. You should be able to leave your house. But the whole idea that you only get to spend a couple of hours in your house a day and then you have to spend the rest of your time in a different place, that is a public place, that you cannot necessarily control your environment or put out your own personal energy signature, that is a big issue. And clearly, if you lived on your ancestral lands in the house that your great-grandparents built and tended your fields every day, that would be a very different feeling. So another way that you create a beneficial energy field is by cleaning and gardening. I know these might sound like two rather choreful domestic activities that one does. They're not, well, gardening is fun. It can be a lot of fun. But sometimes it's just choreful work, like cutting the front lawn or something like that. But it's basically, you are creating your surroundings by doing these things. So you sage a place to remove the energy traces of a person that used to be here. And you vacuum, you wipe down surfaces, and you have to do that on a regular basis. Every time you do that, and you can put that intention into whatever, like I use a natural citrus orange cleaning product when I gotta wipe things down or whatever. When I'm putting the essential oils into the spray bottle, I'm thinking, I am intending for this, like this makes my space. And if you ever are feeling perturbed or like insecure about your rent, your mortgage, like whether you get to live in your space, whether you're allowed to be there, claim your space. That means clean it. You're the person that lives there. You are the person that cleans that space. You own that space. And same thing with gardening and maintaining your grounds. Like you pick up all the dead leaves and all the dead twigs and make sure all the plants are watered. And I do that in my yard every day. Like I water all the plants that I want to stay alive. And I, pick up all the trash that's not supposed to be there. And sweeping is another big aspect of making your own space. So in less developed areas of the world here, they look at people that sweep every day as like, you're so backwards, you're so silly, you're so whatever, but there's actually an energetic reason to do it. So yeah, you sweep off your front porch or sweep off your back porch, and it is not just clearing away dead leaves. It's literally saying like, I claim this space. So those are physical things that you can do in order to create this beneficial energy field in this time and place. But ideally, what we would do is transform our whole entire society so that we exist in a beneficial energy field. And in level 1, I described how the Great Pyramids at Giza were the technological response of a beneficial alien race after the fall of consciousness to use technology to help recultivate consciousness that we had lost. I'm getting my water here. We had lost enough through the use of technology. So some races were like, well, it only seems fair to help them out, to bootstrap them up a little bit by using technology. So yeah, the beings that lived in the penumbra of the emanations of the Great Pyramid at Giza, when it was operational, they not only had light to light their light bulbs like this, but they also had light that went into their mind that helped them to understand and be civilized as opposed to being just totally barbarian. Okay. Other things that can be done in order to help cultivate ascension. So sun gazing and getting enough energy is part of it, and cultivating a beneficial energy field. That's like keeping energy in your energy bank. It's like keeping a savings bank. And instead of having to have fees and other things, like you lose money every month through banking fees or whatever. That's what happens when like people walk through your energy field. It's like, I just lost $5. Like I just walked through my energy field. So yes, you do whatever you can to kind of like keep your savings intact. We'll get on to food. Okay, if you do eat food, we eat food, I eat food. What is the good food to eat that actually gives us light and does not reduce our momentum? And I'll get to this question. Pedro says, so do we eat the cilantro with the chlorella or separate, and how much time between? Do we eat it constantly or for just a little time? Really good questions. So this is talking all about clearing out nano, because there's all sorts of nano crap in the air, the self-assembling stuff. It's not just toxicity of tiny metallic particles. It's also the fact that it is turning you into wetware, or attempting to turn each one of us into wetware. So one of my tools in this battle is that I eat about a quarter of a cup of cilantro a day. We were joking before we got started that I put it on tacos. It's really good. Now we all want tacos. And I don't use like the corn or the wheat wrappers. I do these low carb almond based wrappers. They cost a lot of money, but they're really good. So yeah, so like a quarter of a cup of cilantro. And if they do not have to be taken at the same amount of time. In fact, it's probably better if you take your chlorella like, first thing in the morning and kind of have that like in your digestive tract as a basis, as something that is ready, because those are the little sponges that kind of catch all the heavy metals that get liberated by the cilantro. So, but you don't have to be totally crazy about exactly what time. Like don't be like, oh no, like I have to rush home to take my cilantro. My cilantro window is closing. Don't be concerned. You can do very well just by including both of these things in your diet. And you asked me about how much chlorella I take. They're little tablets, so it's like maybe 3 or 4 a day, which would probably be about a teaspoon if it was pure powdered stuff, but I just get the little tablets. And I give 1 tablet to my dog, and she likes to eat it. She likes the taste, so I give it to her. And I figure, like, offer it to your pets. If they like it, then keep giving it to them. And if they don't like it, don't force them to do it. Like, everybody needs to do what's right for their own system. So Pedro says, I have 1 quartz crystal. Do I just leave it up on the sunlight, or do I have to make other preparations? So the best thing to do is first clear your crystal. Just like if I gave you here, well, it's like here's thumb drive. Let's think of a crystal as being like a thumb drive. And if I gave this to you, and maybe it had some pictures or artwork on it already, and you wanted to use it for your own stuff, erase. Clear out all the stuff that you got from Aurora. So every time someone touches a crystal, you imprint on the crystal. You go to a rock shop or one of these gem stores, and they've got, pretty crystals out on a shelf, and everybody comes along and looks at the crystals and touches them, like everybody left their imprint on that crystal. It's not necessarily a bad thing. So I use this crystal to meet new people. It loves to meet new people. I literally give it to them like, here, you can touch this crystal. And then I take all of the imprints and I download them to a larger crystal and kind of send it up to the sun so that the sun knows what's going on. So it's not a bad thing, but it's a bad thing if you want this to be your personal thumb drive. Then you want to erase everyone else's imprint on it. So you can do that in various different ways. Put it in some salt water. You can bathe it like in moonlight. That helps do something like that. You can sage it, and you can also intend it. Intent does not mean just stare at something blankly. It means you intend it with your willpower. So this is an intangible or imperceptible act that is a real actual act. So you clear out your crystal first. That's like erasing the thumb drive. Then you fill it with all the information that you want, which would be like placing it in the sunlight. I also sometimes bring my crystals to the ocean or different bodies of water and submerge them to clear them out, but I'm only trashing the files I don't want. I'm keeping all of the files that I do want, so you can intend that. Yes, this is like, the basics, how you work with crystals. Okay. Creating a crystal perimeter. This is a good thing around your house. Some good ways to do that are with orgonite. You can get shungite powder. So this is shungite. It is made of a solid thing that's been drilled out so I can put water into it. You can get like little gravel pieces of shungite. You can get powdered shungite. You can get powdered food grade shungite. So if you wanted to make a nice perimeter around your house to protect you from dark magic, Wi-Fi, other crapola, you can take a sprinkling of shungite and you can go all around your house in a little perimeter, and intention while you are sprinkling it, you intend that this is like an energetic perimeter. And I refresh my energetic perimeters at all times. If I need to go out to the store, I lock my doors, and as I'm leaving the driveway, I Merkaba my house. That's like saying I energetically lock my doors. And when I'm going to go to sleep at night, I lock my doors from the inside, right? And I'm getting into my bedroom, and then shields up, Merkaba. We put a shield around the house, and it's like it's just like brushing your teeth. You brush your teeth a couple of times a day. Like, this is normal. This is normal, energetic hygiene. So now we did crystal hygiene. What about your body? Energetic hygiene for your body. So crystals take up imprints when other people touch them, or when you interact with them, or your energy field takes up imprints. How about your body? Your body takes up plenty of imprints. So the cilantro and chlorella, or you can do zeolite, or you can do these different, bentonite clay or something like that, helps to purge stuff that you don't want in your body. There's other like purging energy that you don't want in your body from experiences that you might not enjoy. If you have a bathtub, taking Epsom salts baths really, really helps. And you don't just put in one little spoonful of Epsom salt, like put in a lot, put in a cup, put in a whole bunch of it. Or if you have the opportunity, like I do, I live in a place that is close to a natural hot spring. The water is not chlorinated, it's hot, it's exactly as it comes out of the ground. And you go soak in a hot spring, and it's renewing on many, many levels. Like, you're soaking in the good minerals that you want through your skin, and it's also purgative, that you are purging out all the stuff that you don't want inside of you, both particulate and energetic. Is you clear yourself out. So of course, in other cultures, or a sauna, I used to do that a lot when I lived up in Humboldt, because it's like never really hot up there, so you never really sweat, your pores never really open. So I really need to like get hot and we go into a hot sauna specifically to be saturated with heat, and so that my pores would open up and so that they would release. And it's not only a release of particulate matter or biological metabolic matter, it's also a release of energy. So all of these are ways of you have to do cleaning of the body. So yeah, Epsom salts, soaks. What are some other things I do? Oh, okay, stretching. This is a really big one. So I was talking with a friend and participant in this class about this yesterday. That I was very happy. So I've been here as Aurora for about 17 years. When yoga pants became a style, I was very happy, because I always used to wear like, stretchy comfort pants, not like, pants that have a very tight waistband or whatever, so that I could stretch comfortably during the day, because that is normal to me. That, if you sit for many hours, like I've been sitting here for a couple of hours, I could actually use a stretch. I do things that I say, it's not illegal, although I recognize that it might be socially inappropriate or weird to people in this time and place. I stretch wherever, like the type of stretches you would do for exercise or for yoga, stretching out my calf muscles, stretching out my hips, stretching out my back, bending over, touching my toes. I don't do back bends or anything crazy like that. And I don't necessarily do contortionist poses in public, but it's normal for me and it's normal for everyone. But we've been socially, we've been taught that it is socially inappropriate and that you're not allowed to make certain body movements. So because what happens when you stretch? What you're actually doing is releasing stored energy from your muscles. And so when you're doing these stretches, you are releasing energy. It's energetic hygiene. And some of the energy is stress and emotions that have been like, internalized. And when you're stretching, you're able to release those emotions. So society is like, don't release your emotions. Like, be tense and internalize stuff. And that's not what you're supposed to do. I mean, another big part, like energetic hygiene, like you should be able to use the toilet when you need to. You should not have to hold any of your excretions inside because it's inconvenient to society or not at the right time. That's as far as I'll go on that. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So I do stretches all day long. And so during the day, I'm here in my studio, I'll do different types of, leg stretches or whatever. And here's another part of energetic hygiene. When I sleep at night, I'm also doing lots of stretches. So I know this annoys my dog a lot because I'm a very active sleeper. And it's like a roller coaster. I'm like tossing and turning, I'm stretching, I'm doing all these things. And that's the only time that she ever growls at me. She's like, could you please settle down a little bit? She moves to a little corner on the side. But I do this because it's one way of so at night, it's one way of releasing, I want to say toxins, but let's say metabolic byproducts. So at night is when our body does most of our digestion and most of our cellular repair. And it's doing all of these things that create metabolic byproducts. And if you're just one time I had to sleep in a sleeping bag that was like a mummy cocoon and I was all wrapped up like this. And I was so unbearably uncomfortable because it's necessary for me to be able to move my arms, fully stretch my arms out, fully stretch my legs out, flip over like a pancake again. And a lot of it is also stretching out the spine and doing things that cannot be done when our spine is busy holding up our whole entire body. So I treat my bed, when I'm laying down, as like a platform for being able to do all these, I'll do a twist, I'll twist in the other way. I'm not going to demonstrate it for you now, but to get an idea of what I'm talking about, have you ever seen a little baby, a little infant that's not even maybe, at the level of crawling, but not yet walking, what they do when they sleep? Because they begin to become mobile. They twist, they turn, they stretch, they move around, they flip-flop, they pancake around. Once they begin to, when they're not just a little lump, when they get to become, that is healthy. It's before humans are acculturated and they, learn they have to sleep in a particular way or whatever. So yeah, a big part of it is doing the type of stretch where it's I'm bending my spine a lot in this direction and stretching my arms out a lot like that. I do that a lot at night, in between my sleep cycles. So it is ways of moving energy in helpful patterns through your body that are often you're told that you're not allowed to do it for various different reasons in society. So I am trying to tell you, you are allowed to do it. You are encouraged to use your body and move your body as long as it's not illegal. You're not allowed to be I have to punch someone else in the face and that's part of my energetic hygiene. That is not allowed. But what is allowed is to say, oh yes, I need to stretch my body various times a day. I need to do this and that. And a lot of it has to do with doing what is comfortable and natural to the body and going against what society says. Here's another form of energetic hygiene that I practice. I do overtone chanting, or just singing overtones, and I also sing and babble and vocalize during the day. And I recognize that is socially inappropriate. If you lived with a roommate that was always you would go, you would drive that would make you feel crazy. You would be like, will you please shut the F up? Stop doing that. So that is why I live on my own, where I know that I'm not bothering anyone else. When I lived in shared houses, I was not as vocally free. And this is one of the energy centers of our body. And we are, of course, acculturated, little squalling infants cry and talk and do whatever they want to do and babble. But then we're taught, you're not allowed to do that. That's not okay. And definitely as an adult and as, a housemate or a roommate, there are all these different things about how you're allowed to act and what you're allowed to say. So singing is a big part of my energetic hygiene. So when I do my sun gazing, I get filled up with energy, and then I feel like I have so much energy inside of me, I just need to sing. And so sometimes I do a high, a tone. I'll do a little bit of this now. And sometimes I'll start from the lower chakras, and I imagine them singing all the energy up my body. And then if I sing, all the way up to there, then I'm singing it up to the sun, and then it all comes back down into me. Like that is very healthy. We are supposed to be, everybody in this world is supposed to be free enough to sing in a, like an unencumbered way. Like you don't necessarily have to sound like an opera singer or like whatever, like, you know, Mariah Carey or something like that. I'm not talking about that. Everybody should be free. It's having a healthy energy center. This is energetic hygiene. How do you live longer? How do you live better? You do it by singing. Be free. Allow energy to circulate through here. And many people say like, I have a horrible voice. I can't sing. I blah, blah, this. Sing in the shower. Sing in your car. Sing in places that are considered, that's why people sing in the shower in their car, because it's private, because they're not going to drive everyone else crazy. Yes, sing and be free, even if you do not feel that you sound good or whatever. And one of the few socially acceptable places to sing loudly, and sing loudly, don't be afraid if you're, you know, don't sing super quiet or whatever. Go to karaoke. I used to go to karaoke all the time with my friends in Woodstock because it was one of the only socially acceptable places to actually sing together in public. In other times and places, singing together is a normal thing. Like you get together with friends and you sing. In the 1800s, everybody had a piano in their house. They would get together for sing-alongs. People would do, you know, in other cultures, singing around a campfire. There's harvest songs. There's work songs. We have been in this very closed down conformist society. All of this is intentional to try to take you away from your real power, because your voice is power. And when you make words with your voice, you're literally manifesting those things. So if you sing a song where you say, I am feeling so great, then you are making that reality happen. And so I try to sing earth. I like earth songs. I learned a lot of songs here on earth just so that I could sing them along with other people, or sing them when I heard them in a public, you know, environment. I don't like to sing songs that are about where the singer is saying like, I got hurt so bad. I feel so bad about myself. I'm such a bad person. I don't sing those songs because I don't like to say those words. So I look for words that have, songs rather, that have lyrics that are words that I wish to bring into reality. And if the songs have a nice melody, but they don't have words that I like, I make up my own words. And I would encourage you to do the same thing, so that you are singing your, you know, positive, uplifting version, using your voice as a magical instrument is what I'm trying to say. Society has tried to reduce your use of your voice and your magical instrument. It's yours to use. You're allowed to use it. Don't do it in a way that makes you get kicked out of your shared housing or anything like that, and make sure you're not annoying your neighbors horribly. But yes, sing, and that's another part of energetic hygiene. Let's get into a few other like substances, because, you know, I'm always drinking out of my shungite cup over here. I find shungite has helped me amazingly. So I'm not a perfect person. I have been attacked and targeted a lot. When I say perfect person, I mean like I'm here in solidarity, and maybe even get targeted more than the average person, targeted by smart meters and other forms of weaponized technology and cell phone crapola and nano crapola. They try to get me a lot, and it can be difficult to even at times focus on my own thoughts, think my own thoughts, you know, whatever, use my creativity in the way that I want to. I'm constantly like blocking out and trying to do stuff or whatever. Once I started to drink shungite water, so what I do is I get large jugs of water from the dispenser. My local store is called Rainbow Bridge Health Food Store. Isn't that wonderful? And there's a giant water dispenser outside that says rainbow water on it. And I get the rainbow water from the rainbow water dispenser. When I found this place, I was like, well, clearly I have to drink the rainbow water. And when people see me filling up my giant containers there, they're like, you're wearing rainbow and you're getting rainbow water. I'm like, yes, you get it. So yeah, I fill up. I usually get distilled water, because this community is not fluoridated, but reverse osmosis, or RO water, only takes out a percentage of the fluoride. So whatever is the source of the water, I just know I want zero amount of fluoride. Energetic hygiene. Stay away from the freaking fluoride. If you are a parent, please do not subject your child to fluoride. Please do not bring them to the dentist and make them have fluoride treatments. Please do not make them have fluoride tablets. You know, there's one lovely couple, and they were like, they got told by their dentist, well, since you're using well water, your beautiful daughter is going to have cavities, so you better give her these fluoride tablets. They gave their daughter fluoride tablets. We're just like, oh my God, please protect this child. Yeah, if you're a parent, please consider not fluoridating your child. And they even have like baby water in a bottle. It's got fluoride in it. Like, don't give your kid fluoride water. Yes, so I drink distilled water. I put it in a large glass container when I get home, like a glass kind of container with a spigot, because it's better not to store it in plastic. And I put chunks of shungite that is made for water filtration. Again, sometimes shungite has occlusions and pyrite and other things that can dissolve in water that you don't necessarily want to eat. It's fine to wear. If you have a shungite pendant that has occlusions, that's fine, but you must make certain that if you're putting it in your water or eating it or putting it in your mouth or doing this, that you get the kind that is made for food grade or water filtration, not merely for decoration. That's my like PSA on that. And I have some good sources or whatever. I'm not a salesperson in any way, but I have some companies that I ordered from that I've had good luck with. So the shungite has absolutely helped me. So I put the big storage of water in the glass container with shungite in the bottom, and you usually let it soak for at least 24 hours or so. Then the shungite has fully gone through all of the water. And I also put some other lovely quartz crystals in there that have been energized in sunlight. And that's another, I know someone who has a special crystal that she had a guru like from the Far East that gave her a special crystal, and that he has special mantras. And she would say the mantras into the crystal and then put the crystal in her water jug and have it like, you can do all of that. That is all energetic hygiene. And it is a way of feeding the body beyond the mere physical molecules of food or water or nourishment that we are being exposed to. And I also, with caution, tell everyone, conditionally recommend powdered shungite in a lipid base. So I'm not a proponent of C60 just because it's made in a lab and we don't know who's running those labs. And there are all sorts of different competing people competing like factories, not factories, but companies is the word I'm looking for, making different tinctures. And some of the people have gotten them to report like that it has a foul taste, or that it tastes like like a solvent or something like that. So yellow caution flags on C60, just because we don't know whose lab it is, who owns and runs the labs, whether there are contaminants, whether there are intentional or unintentional solvents or nano or other stuff that's in there. I've been sticking with eating powdered shungite because it contains a proportion of the carbon-60 or fullerene molecule. So I'm getting that in my body. I feel like it's a reputable source. I don't have to worry about whether it's contaminated. Get it from like a really small company that came out of Russia, and it is powdered food grade. It's down to like 40 micron. So that if you just ate a bunch of chunky shungite, like that would tear up your body. That would feel like like eating shards of glass. Don't do that. Don't get that kind. Get the kind that's very, very finely powdered. So I put a small amount of shungite into coconut oil or MCT, medium chain triglycerides, and take a couple of drops. And it's cumulative. It builds up in your bones, builds up in the fat of your organs and stuff like that. You don't have to drink a lot every day. So I do that conditionally. I say, because I had one student in this class who's a lovely person. She was being very troubled by what she perceived as like a large nano infestation. So she mixed up like a paste of a lot of shungite, and she put it all over her whole body and all over her whole face. And she'd been eating like a quarter of a teaspoon a day of this. She way oversaturated, and she had a big, what I would call either like an allergic reaction or a detox reaction, but she was very uncomfortable. She reported this to me, so I'm passing this along to others. So tiny, tiny micro doses. Don't overdo it. Don't cover yourself entirely with the large, thick coating of shungite. Small amounts are great. So yeah, I put a small amount of powdered shungite into my daily face cream, and I have found that helps to, there are little tiny fibers coming out of my face sometimes painlessly and not leaving horrible sores or whatever, but I'm just like, oh, okay, that's good, that's helping out. Energetic hygiene, because this is literally helping us to not have the pathogens infecting and infesting our body. It's very, very, very challenging to have a pure body here. And I don't think I even have to say this in this class, but yeah, don't eat a bunch of processed foods. Like clearly McDonald's and other fast food, however we would call it, it's highly infested with, first, just the nutrients themselves are degraded and they have very little life force energy in them. And then they are also infested with other forms of both chemical contaminants, cynomics, like the fetal tissue flavor enhancers, natural flavors. It's like you're participating in a dark magic ritual and eating human flesh when you eat those substances, and self-assembling nanoparticles. Stay away from all of that crap. That is basic. I think it's like a no-brainer energetic hygiene. But because if you guys already stay away from that, now we're into like, what are the higher levels of things you could do? So I found shungite to be very helpful in terms of that. And I also put shungite around my router, taped on the back of my tablet. Like I put it in my bra. I'm not sharing too much information by telling you this, but yeah, little flat discs. I have them all over in whatever I weigh around my world, because I really feel that helps to mitigate the fry that is being pumped into the air, and 5G is horrible, horrible stuff. So we need to definitely make certain that we fight against 5G in any way we possibly can. Let's go on to more beneficial things for energetic hygiene. I work a lot with cannabis. So I drink raw cannabis juice. So this is a blend today. I've got some commercial regular like green juice and some mango, and then I also do juice cubes. Raw cannabis juice is not psychoactive. It is safe. It doesn't go against any other prescriptions that you might have to take. It is beneficial in terms of being anti-seizure, anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, and I feel like it has a lot of other wonderful just plant nutrients. It's a big part of one of my like, not weapons, but like in my tool and tool belt. Tool for overall health and vitality. And yeah, I think it helps a lot in terms of mitigating or going against the environmental toxicity. And I use it as part of my regimen against seizures. So yeah, I stay away from, I don't take any pharmaceuticals. I'm happy to say I'm able to stay healthy and, you know, not have seizures or control them very well using I use CBD tinctures, and I do a lot with raw juice and raw truffles and things like that. And I put cannabis skin oil on my skin, and I think that helps a lot too. So these are all tools of the trade of being able to do this. When you interact with something that is not something that you want to interact with, because that happens at times, a person who's toxic, a substance that's toxic, you're breathing in whatever kind of stuff that comes, you know, from pollution in the atmosphere, don't panic. You're okay. Here's a little cheeky. Come on up, girl. Come on up, girl. You can cleanse all that stuff out. You don't have to be like, oh no, I can't ascend because I had to eat a hamburger from a bad restaurant. Thank you for the kiss. Oh my goodness. Thank you. You don't have to feel that way. Don't be like, that's it. Chuck the ascension. I ate French fries. It's all going downhill now. No, no, no. And also you can make your own really wonderful French fries. Just like get organic potatoes, actually cut them up, actually, you know, put them in the oven, coated in coconut oil or olive oil or something like that. Like just make real food. Okay, wait, let me get to questions. Pedro says, here south of the border, I have no problem with heat to sweat out toxins during the summer. You totally understand. If you want to punch something, punch a pootie. That's too funny. Exactly. Sometimes I do feel like very angered and perturbed by things that it's like being constantly attacked. And it's just like, can I have 5 minutes? 5 minutes of just not being attacked? Like it's very, whatever, exasperating at times. Pedro says, what about blessing food before eating it? Yes, yes, yes. If I put a Merkaba on the food, is it helpful? Yes to both of those things. Thank you for reminding me. That was one of the things I wanted to say. Thank you for reminding me. Blessing our food absolutely has a positive impact on it. So even if you have to eat a bad hamburger out someplace because you're not in control of your food and you just have to eat what is available, I said we have magical voices, and that's why you should sing and be free to use your voice and also say things that you want to be truthful, like my body is healthy, my life is abundant, I'm happy to be here, with your voice. And I do this practice. What I usually do is I look at my food when I'm about to sit down to it and I say, I'm so happy and grateful for all this wonderful good food and like sitting here in my nice little breakfast nook and having good stuff or whatever. Like it absolutely transforms the experience and it transforms the food on a cellular level. And it transforms your experience of ingesting that food. So almost every food has something in it that is not what you want to internalize. Even if it's an organically grown tomato, it might have bug poop or something that you don't want. So I do a very quick merkaba around my different foods, basically with the intention, nutrients that I want come inside of me and substances that I don't want pass through me. And that's the intention of our digestive tract, that we are supposed to have this really strong membrane or barrier that is porous, but only for the things that nourish us. And the stuff that doesn't nourish us goes right through. So, you can't be too perfect. Sometimes you eat stuff that's not exactly perfect or that has imperfections or pathogens or whatever. Your body has, our body has the capacity to separate out the things that we want from the things that we don't want and release the things that we don't want. So blessing is not just, it's not just a religious thing. Sometimes people would think because of my cross or whatever, if I say that, in a public setting, that I'm doing some religious thing. It does not have to be seen as religious at all. It can be seen as gratitude for being alive. Like we are still in this level of reality where another being, plant or animal, or microbe, gave its life so that I could eat and be nourished. And I recognize that when I'm eating. Oh, and when I drink my green juice, I'm out in my garden. I literally salute my garden. I'm like, I thank you, beautiful beautiful plants. Thank you for your leaves. So I get to drink this. And, you know, when I'm harvesting the leaves, I'd say to the plant, oh, thank you so much for giving me good stuff to eat. Pedro says, I watched a video about chlorine dioxide used to help autism and break down the glyphosate. I will put the link on Facebook. Thank you so much. That's so helpful. Great segue, because that's another one of my relatively relatively unknown ammunition in this battle for being happy and healthy. Chlorite, which is not the same as regular table salt, which is sodium chloride. So I get mine from a particular supplier. I'm not a salesperson. It's called Kiwi's Corner. And yeah, if you do a Google search for what is chlorite, it will say, this is an industrial cleaning product and do not ever ingest it under any circumstances. But what you do is it comes with, I get the kind that is premixed, and it comes with a little pipette, like a little eyedropper, and you take 8 droplets, depending upon your body weight, and you also dilute it with water, and then it's also good to have some food too. So what it does is it enters into the bloodstream, and it destroys pathogens, but it does not destroy healthy cells. So it is helpful to add it to an anti-cancer protocol. It is helpful against parasites. And parasites, that's another one of those things where it's like when you're eating food, even if it's organically grown, wonderful, good stuff, there can be parasites in there. And I eat meat, and I'm, you know, well aware, and I cook my meat and everything like that, but I am aware there can still be worms and parasites in there. So chlorite is an excellent way to cleanse yourself of parasites and also the immortal cells. And I'll just get into this very briefly because I know this is a long class today, but you're all super like endurance. You're doing it with me. The Immortal Cell Line of Henrietta Lacks. This is a book, and it's also been turned into a movie. Henrietta Lacks had a cancerous tumor in the 1950s, and doctors took cells from that tumor and they cultivated them in petri dishes, and they have never died. They're called the Immortal Cell Line, HeLa, H-E-L-A, of Henrietta Lacks. And most cells, if you keep on cultivating them in a petri dish, not in a body, they only can go a certain number of generations and then they die. But her cell line was special because it could keep going in petri dishes and never die. So those immortal cancer cells are what was used as the basis for growing, the substrate for growing many vaccines that some of us have been subjected to. If you had any kind of vaccines, it is likely that it has some of these immortal cells in it. Think about the horror of that we are, as a society, cultivating undying cancer cells and then injecting that directly into vulnerable people under the auspice of improving their health. Like, that's monstrous. It's horrible. I'm sorry if any of you are vaccine injured or if you had that experience or whatever, but do not be concerned, because chlorite is one of the few substances that can actually delineate in your body, oh, that's an immortal cell, that's not supposed to be there, I'm going to kill that cell, but that cell over there is a healthy, viable cell that is supposed to be there, I'm not going to touch it. So yeah, the chlorite itself is like a form of intelligence, or has its own discernment where it is able to effectively do that. So I put a drop of chlorite into Cheeky's water because she eats poop off the ground outside. And I know dogs have very strong stomach acid, but in an effort to prevent her from having whatever parasites may be prevalent in her diet of scavenging poop. Sorry to tell you too much information about that, because she's like such a cute little dog, but sometimes dogs, you know, they do gross stuff and they eat gopher guts and other things like that. So another tool in the tool belt is chlorine dioxide. So the shungite has been very, very helpful to me. Chlorine dioxide has been very helpful to me. I do cannabis and CBD, and mostly raw. Like, I don't really do a lot of psychedelic ingestion, but I'm fine. If people want to do that, that's fine. But also, like, when you do that, if you take a lot of THC, your energy field becomes very porous. So if you do that and then you go out to some horrible dance club with all these like barbarians, you're going to absorb all of their barbarian energy. It's like getting in a bathtub full of mud and you're going to go home covered in energetic mud. So a big part of energetic hygiene is not exposing yourself to mud, to people that have gross energy. And that's hard because in this time and place, a lot of people have gross energy. So I don't go out and do a lot of things. I don't go out to bars. Oh, I don't drink alcohol because it is a trigger for seizures. But even before I knew about that and I explored what alcohol was, I recognized that it is the complete opposite of any form of energy cultivation and consciousness cultivation. It's literally, it zombifies people and it fritters their energy away. So if you're interested in ascending and cultivating your energy, getting an energetic savings bank to make the consciousness leap, don't drink alcohol. And I'm not some kind of a teetotaling Puritan telling you that. I'm telling you, like, the things that society wants you to do, they want you to weaken yourself and not have all of your energy. So yeah, avoiding alcohol is a big part of it. Yeah, Zephyr is absolutely agreeing with me. No alcohol. And it's challenging because drinking alcohol in groups is what many people consider to be a fun time, quote unquote, in this time and place. And that's not a fun time for me. So, now I have a medical reason that people understand why I don't ingest alcohol. Even if I didn't have a medical reason, don't find it to be a fun, appropriate, or good form of socializing. Like, let's all get together and reduce our energy together. And when people drink together, they feel a sense of camaraderie or bonding, but it's because, like, you all just pissed away your energy together. Like, we just threw hundreds worth of dollars out the window. Wasn't that so great? Oh, and I don't know if I even have to say this, but white powdery drugs are not going to help you with your energetic hygiene, specifically cocaine. That I know that cocaine has profound after effects. It's not just like you take a small amount and then you're done when the effects wear off. It has profound after effects on your entire energetic system. And so some of these substances, they make vulnerabilities, like big giant holes through which malevolent entities can come in and enter your body. And then they also create biochemical imbalances afterwards. So yeah, crack and cocaine, some of these meth, some other stimulants, they create profound metabolic imbalances in your brain chemicals, even after you are no longer under the influence of those drugs. I think it goes without saying, no white powdery drugs. And if you're going to do something that would be considered a hallucinogen, LSD, mushrooms, ayahuasca, or any of those types of things, you have to, if you're practicing good energetic hygiene, here's what you should do. First, create a clear energetic space where you're going to be doing it, right? Like a place to actually do it. Don't do it in a dance club surrounded by mud and horrible pathogenic people. And then make certain that the events of your life are nice and clean. Like, you don't want to open it's like, imagine if you were going to cut open, like get a piercing or something like that. You're like going to get like minor surgery. You should do it in a sterile environment with sterile tools. You shouldn't be like, oh yeah, here's like some dirty, gross thing, I'm going to pierce my ear with it. No. So when you're taking a hallucinogen, you're essentially opening yourself up to higher dimensional reality. You want to do that in a sterilized place, in a nice, clean place, not some place where you're going to be exposed to, like, imagine being exposed to horror movies when you're under the influence of LSD or, something like that. It's like, you don't want that to come inside of your mind at that moment. Do it in a way so that you're not surrounded by all sorts of crap. And like, these are basic things. Oh yeah. Good. Really, really good. Two things. So, you are logged in under C. I know who you're talking about. She says, coffee is my drug of choice, 1 cup a day. I totally understand. So caffeine is absolutely a socially acceptable drug in this time and place. Excessive caffeine, there are definite metabolic problems with it, both in terms of crash and burn, like you soar and crash, and also it makes your kidneys and adrenals run a lot. So you can, basically you're pissing out your energy. Because you need to get ramped up so that you can go to work, so you can do all of your work, but it means that you are, it ages the body profoundly to consistently drink too much coffee every day. And that's something that is normal in this time and place. People run on 10 cups of coffee a day without getting real rest. So coffee is used as the compensatory mode for not getting real rest, which is real energetic hygiene. And when you sleep, how do you sleep? I didn't even say this because I have sleep issues and nocturnal seizures, so I have to be really good about my sleep hygiene. Sleep hygiene means your bedroom is for bedroom stuff. Your bedroom is for sleeping. Your bedroom is not for watching TV, reading books in bed. Your bed should be only for sleeping, resting, napping, and sexual activities. It should not be for any other activities, even though I know people do all sorts of things in their bed. They'd be like crocheting, do a little craft project, whatever. No, you're not supposed to do that. And you definitely should not expose yourself to blue light, like the tablet and phone light, for at least an hour before you want to go to bed. You should turn off all electronics. You should stop socializing, because every time you socialize, that's something that you have to digest and think about. And in order to get really good sleep, you don't have to be thinking about that conversation that I just had. Like, I just had a disturbing conversation. Now I'm going to hang up the phone and now I'm going to go directly to sleep. Like, no, you're going to think and dream about that. So end your socialization an hour beforehand and your techno stuff an hour beforehand, and allow your neurology time to like slow down peacefully, and then get into bed. What most people in this time and place do is adults. What they do is they stay up way too late watching TV or using the computer, and having used caffeine to stay awake during the day. They don't take time to gently descend and think about the efforts of the day and then go into sleep. They totally crash. They just sleep and crash. And sleep is just like, like the numbness. And then kind of, wake up groggy in the morning. That's not what we're supposed to do. It's not the proper approach. And also in my bedroom, like I don't have lots of like colorful stuff, lots of paintings or whatever. I just have like a very plain room, because you're not supposed to have lots of things that you're looking at, lots of colors that you're looking at, just like a plain, non-stimulative environment where you can sleep, and also going to sleep at the same time and waking up at the same time every day and not pulling an all-nighter. All of those things are part of like having a healthy metabolism and healthy regulation. So some people, if you can't sleep, like take a sleeping pill. That is not the solution. Pedro makes a great point. He says, another white powdery drug, sugar. So yeah, I'm not looking down on anyone who uses sugar. I had to stop taking sugar because of it's another seizure trigger, just like alcohol, and they're very closely related, sugar and alcohol. Yeah, and doctors didn't tell me about this, so it was from talking to other patients and also doing my own research about nutrition. And I'm a walk-in. I didn't know anything about nutrition, literally. I did not know anything about food when I came into this body. So I had to learn what foods are good for the body, what foods are horribly polluted by society, and then what foods work for me in my personal condition. So I don't eat a lot of carbohydrates and breads and pastas, but I definitely don't eat refined sugar, and it's in almost everything. When I stopped eating it, that was when I really had to learn like how to cook and prepare food, because it's in almost everything that is a prepared food, even salad dressing. I had to stop buying prepared salad dressing and learn how to make my own, because it was on every single label. So sugar is absolutely one of those things where it's like, it's not like you can't ascend because you ate a cookie. Don't worry, you can still ascend. You ate a cookie. But it's like, how hard do you want to make your job? How many bricks do you want to try to carry while you're trying to get into this higher dimensional, less dense realm? So yeah, sugar, it definitely has the potential for addiction. Like you feel like you need it, you soar and crash. Soar and crash, highs and lows. Yeah, so I don't eat that because I do low glycemic, which is not having highs and lows. Zephyr says subconscious inhibits become real. People think that this possession, alcohol. Oh, I understand what you're talking about. Then when people drink alcohol, it takes away their barriers, their social constraints, and they say and do all these things that are inside that they wouldn't let out otherwise. So I understand that. It's like this kind of idea of like, oh yes, alcohol makes you free. In vino veritas, right? The alcohol makes you free. Say what you want to say. But you know something, like maybe we need to change society so that you don't just have to be like, oh yes, what we need to do is we're going to go out for beers, or I'm going to have a glass of wine and then I'll tell you what I really think of you. Maybe we have to have a different form of communication where I can be like, hey, like, I'd love to tell you about my feelings, or like when you did this thing, it made me feel like this, without having to have it be like alcohol made it all okay. And I understand that people use alcohol as like the solve to make everything okay. I lived in a couple of living situations where it was very uncomfortable and everybody just drank. They just drank in order to compensate. Like large cases of wine were consumed just to be able to deal with being in each other's space. And I understand that that is considered to be socially appropriate and normal, but that is not good energetic hygiene. Basically, if you are in a living situation, a social situation, or a work situation where the only thing that makes it bearable is alcohol, that's not good energetic hygiene, because you're basically saying, at my peak, I cannot be here and be focused. I can't deal with being in the situation, being focused. Then it's not a place you're supposed to be. So it might mean that you might have to change your entire life, change the way you socialize, change where you work, change all these things. You might have to do big changes in order to practice good energetic hygiene. This is what I'm talking. This is not a small thing. It is like, it's not like taking a pill. Like, oh, all you have to do in order to have good energetic hygiene, just take this pill. It's like, no, you have to have a garden. You have to cultivate your energy field. You have to stop doing things that are socially, acceptable, but are, energetically aberrant. Like, it's a big process. And I know that there are other things that I have forgotten about. So if you are making comments, and I do get to the YouTube comments, I've been getting along my backlog very well. Yeah, there are many other things that can be done too, like whatever. I mean, meditation and mindfulness, these are also parts of energetic hygiene, and they're things that society in this time and place is not going to tell you, like, hey, did you meditate today? Society will be like, did you pay your taxes? Did you smog your car? Did you do all these paperwork type of things? Society is not going to make certain that you took, like, how many did you take a quiet moment? Oh, here's another, like, energetic hygiene. The way that we eat our food. Food should be eaten mindfully. That means, I mean, I'm as bad as anyone because I eat, watching Netflix or something like that, but we're not supposed to eat watching a TV show or something. We are supposed to eat actually sensing and tasting everything that's in our mouth and socializing. Because when you're a little tiny infant, food is social at every age. And when little babies don't thrive, what helps them to thrive and digest their food is when you hug and cuddle with them. So hugging and cuddling as a little tiny infant is absolutely essential for making the tummy be able to digest food. And the adult version of hugging and cuddling is, having a dinner companion, having another person that you eat with, and you talk to them and you say, how was your day? Or what do you think? How's this pizza tasting? Or whatever. No one eats alone. So in our world, in the United States, the industrialized world here, it's normal to eat alone. Everybody eats in their car. They eat on the go. They eat unconsciously without tasting their actual calories. And they don't take 5 minutes after they eat to just like sit and digest. It's 5 minutes. It's not your whole entire lifetime. Like, you finish your plate and everything like that. You don't have to jump directly up and immediately start washing the dishes or cleaning up or whatever. 5 minutes. It's not going to be your entire life. And that's a really essential thing for your metabolism after you eat the food, to have all of your digestive juices and gall stuff and all that stuff actually come out in the 5 minutes that you sit quietly waiting so that you can then go. It's like everybody is running on adrenaline and constantly running and constantly running. In other cultures, like in Europe, it is considered totally barbaric and totally lame or whatever, socially aberrant to eat alone. Like, you're going to eat a TV dinner alone in front of the TV. Like, there's something wrong with you if you do that. So no, mostly in places like that, you go out and eat at a cafe where there might be other people who are also single and are eating alone, but I'm sorry, I have dog hair on my face. You're also around people. You're not isolated. You're around people. And then one of the other things that is a normal social practice in Europe and other places, more refined places, but it's very weird and unusual here in the United States, is after eating, going around, having a little perambulation. Like, you walk around the neighborhood. That, in Woodstock, when the weather was good, a lot of people did that, like kind of around 7 or 8 or so. After your meal, to help you digest, you go out and you have a little walk around and you meet and talk with people. And it's not just like a fun thing to do. Like, this is energetic hygiene. This is part of like living a good life. And in our world, that has been almost completely, in the United States, it's almost been completely taken away. Towns do not have a central square, a plaza or piazza where everybody can walk around. Most people don't live within walking distance of a town. Most people drive to where they need to get to and never get to know their neighbors. So and when you say like, Aurora, like what is even the point of this? Why do I need to get to know my neighbors in terms of ascension? This has everything to do with socialization, like being not isolated from many other beings. Socialization is a form of food. That's crucial. So sitting alone all the time and watching TV or doing social media for your main forms of interaction and never eating or interacting with other people, like, all of those are ways of starving. They are starving humanity, so that because socialization on social network, like, that's only a tiny amount of calories. It's like sun gazing off of a screen. Like, you're only getting a little bit of a person's interaction, their personality, their emotions. We can feed each other with real emotions. That's like, I'm starting to wrap things up. It's almost the end of this broadcast. One of the big takeaways is we can feed each other not only with the physical food of molecular nourishment, but also with our presence, with our, our goodness, with our positive social interactions. We're not supposed to be in isolation. Like, being with other good people is big. So stay away from the barbarians at discos, especially if you're going to be tripping or something like that. Don't open yourself up to that vulnerability. Find good people to surround yourself with and reflect goodness between each other. Zephyr says, existence grows from itself. I think that's very apt. I think that is what is happening here, because what we're doing, when I talk about, the necessity of positive social interaction, it's like a food that we can give each other. What we are doing in terms of ascension is becoming one. And it's not the oneness of the Borg. It's not the unity consciousness of some like zombified thing, like join my oneness, unity consciousness. It's not like that, because you still maintain your individuality and your own flavor, and you're connecting to other organisms. So we have all of these things in our life right now that make us disconnected from other organisms. And this conscious reconnection is a big part of it. And recognizing that your individual journey and the journey of the planet and everything that is going on right now is all interconnected. It's not just your own personal journey. So you can draw great strength from that, and we can literally feed each other and encourage each other on the journey. It's a very difficult metamorphosis. So be like, I see you're transforming, keep going, like keep going in the right direction. And longevity is part of ascension, but it's not all of it, because you can ascend as a 5-year-old. If that moment comes and you're only 5 years old, it's not like, oh, wait, I have 95 more years before I'm ready to ascend. Like, it's not like that. So that's a big thing, is also recognizing that young people can be just as much on this verge of ascension as we are, because I know this lesson, level 2, is about energetic hygiene and longevity, like basically how to live longer. Well, the way to live longer, the best way to live longer is to choose that ascension pathway. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to live to be 95 years old before you have this metamorphosis experience. You can have it at any chronological age. Pedro says, love the lasagna and ask for more. You're such a good guest. I will send you home with lasagna leftovers. It is definitely like, my voice is very tired, and it's time for me to get a little bit of exercise, WALK, with the little cheeky girl over here. So yes, if there are any more questions, thank you so much. Ben says this has been excellent. I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you very much. So I'm going to wrap up the recording for right now, but just finish up on any comments so that my upload time is not too long. I will say a resounding thank you to everyone who takes the time to watch these videos, who shares them with others, who enrolls slowly but steadily. I always have more enrollees every month. And I know we're coming to the end of the semester, but if you're just coming upon this work, there's a whole YouTube playlist of everything that's gone on up into the semester, and you can access the recorded lessons at any time according to your own pace. So my plan is, I'm gearing up to do a workshop at a conference at the end of October. So this semester will be wrapping up right around that time, and then I plan to restart the teaching cycle sometime in November. So thank you very much. And so I'm trying to say, like, it's always a good time to enroll. There's no time like the present. And thank you very much for everyone who's been on this extensive journey with me. Thank you very much.